And we are now going to come to our next speaker, who is Sjoerd Dijkstra, who is a sustainability marketer at DSM Resins and Functional Material. He's going to explain why this chemical company has an official policy to remove substances of very high concern from its coatings and resins product portfolio with a strict timeline to follow. Please welcome Sjoerd Dijkstra.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you, ChemSec, for giving me the opportunity to actually share a little bit about our DSM functional resins and functional materials sustainability strategy. Before I start, let me first start with actually sharing a brief personal story. The first moment I actually realized the impact chemicals have on our health was when I worked for DSM in the area of malnutrition. In the nutrition world, the first 1,000 days of a child's life, from conception to the age of 2, it's called the critical window of development. A small dose of nutrients in that critical window can make the difference whether a child can live a healthy life and reaches its full potential in height, but also in brain development. For example, take iodine. Just 1/5,000th gram of daily intake of iodine by the mother during pregnancy will determine whether a kid's IQ fully develops. It will determines that by as much as 10%, which is very significant. And when I switched to DSM resins and functional materials, I actually realized that where access to nutrition has a positive impact, environmental chemicals and exposure to environmental toxins actually has a similar but negative impact. The health from impact from environmental chemicals is already recognized as being a pandemic threat leading to various diseases and illnesses. Take, for example, NMP, a solvent widely used in our industry. NMP is known for damaging the unborn child within that same 1,000-day window. While actually applied and used in a floor coating, NMP may release up to weeks or even months out of the products, even when the family has already moved into that house. And I made it my personal mission to change this and to make DSM resins and functional materials a frontrunner. I'm proud to work for DSM. DSM is known as being a purpose-driven, performance-led company. And our purpose is to create brighter lives for all. We use our bright science to create solutions for the people today and generations to come. We have linked our business strategy entirely to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, focusing on 3 areas: nutrition, health, climate and energy, and circularity and resources. And over the last years, I've been responsible for the development of our sustainability strategy for the DSM Resins and Functional Materials Group. And I'm proud to share more details about it. Just for you to know, the DSM Resins and Functional Materials Group, we actually make resins going into paints, other products like furniture, or also products like packaging. For the starting point of our strategy, I actually always use the quote from Robert Swan, the first person who walked both poles. The greatest threat to the planet is the belief that someone else will save it. Too many times we hear in our industry the perspective that customers are not asking for this, or that the market doesn't want to pay for it. However, we truly believe that the biggest opportunity presented in decades is our conviction that we can change the planet and improve our health. For this strategy, we truly looked ourselves in the mirror and asked ourselves, if we want to be a purpose-driven company, what should we change? And for DSM, resins and functional materials, we've tried to make it very specific. In the health and nutrition domain, we're focused on the reduction of toxic chemicals from our finished products, including a progressive phase-out strategy, which I will share more details about later. For climate change and energy, we will significantly reduce our carbon footprint for both our operations as well as our finished products. And finally, for resources and circularity, we design products specifically for circularity. For example, under our Niaga portfolio, we have developed a full circular mattress and a full circular carpet without any toxic chemicals. In addition, we also would like to increase the use of renewable or recycled raw materials. And to be honest, if we would like to keep our products and materials in a closed loop, we need to be absolutely sure that they are safe, which brings us back to the phase-out strategy. And in order to make it tangible and to be accountable, but also to be held accountable by others, we have translated this into actually two sets of targets. First, our operational sustainability targets, securing our license to operate for now and in the future, and also our portfolio targets to truly become an industry frontrunner. And let me zoom in further on our portfolio targets, and I hope you don't mind that I will not address the operational targets, but we've set ourselves targets on emissions to air, carbon footprint, waste and renewable energy. They are public and also can be found on our website. With our portfolio targets, we aim to become an industry frontrunner. We will develop the most sustainable product portfolio in our industry. And we have set 3 specific targets. First, we will accelerate the phase out of all chemicals of concern from our finished products. And we've started the journey already, and it's our ambition to have no sales of chemicals of concern by 2025. On average, about 90% of the carbon footprint of our products come from the raw materials we're using. And therefore, we will also reduce the carbon footprint of our products and the raw materials we're using by 28%. And to accelerate this carbon footprint reduction, we also commit ourselves that at least 30% of the raw materials we're using will be from bio-based or renewable sources. And to give a little bit more detail about the phase-out strategy, I will explain the principles we have used. First of all, we look at it as a hazard-based approach unless we understand and can manage all downstream risks and have implemented responsible care procedures to actually guarantee safe use. Second, we will remove all chemicals of high concern labeled as CMR 1A, 1B and PBT that are present as free monomers in our finished products by 2025. For residuals from reactants, we often deal with reactive chemistry in our cases, and non-intentionally added substances, we will develop specific thresholds and quality control approaches. And in addition, I have to say our strategy is a dynamic strategy which we commit to continuously update. And we're also already developing specific strategies for other chemicals of high concern, like the ones already mentioned today many times, such as respiratory sensitizers or endocrine disrupting chemicals. I have to say it's great to have such a strategy, but I personally think we really need to speed up the implementation. And we can only do that together. For this, I see 3 key changes that need to happen. First, we need a much broader collaboration among the entire value chain, or actually I should say among the entire ecosystem, because also the scientific community, NGOs and the regulatory bodies should be an integral part of that. Too often we hear our customers are not asking for this or are not willing to pay for this. I fundamentally believe this is an invalid argument. Consumers have never asked for toxic chemicals in their products, and they are starting to understand the impact of these chemicals. On the other hand, I have to say that also our scientists have never designed any of our products to be inherently toxic for human health. Luckily, we already see markets changing. Good example, just we heard from Apple. Big retailers and brand owners such as IKEA, Apple and Co-op just to name a few examples, are actually leading this journey. Each one of them sells products containing DSM materials, and we'd love to bring our chemical expertise to the table to fundamentally redesign products that we use every day. Secondly, I believe we need radical transparency of ingredients. Isn't it just a right to know the composition of the products we use every day? The SDS data sheets we use today are simply outdated. Ideally, we know the composition up to ppm or ppb levels. However, starting at 100 ppm is already a massive change and a massive step forwards, and we can start with that right off today. Thirdly, we also need more challenging product-specific legislations. And it's possible that we have that because we already have similar legislations like the Toys Directive, and this is also already the way how eco-labels function and operate today. I've always wondered myself why eco-label criteria, which are developed to actually protect our health, are voluntary. Quite frankly, at this moment, in too many cases, it's a competitive disadvantage to be an industry frontrunner. And quite honestly, we experience this daily. Product-specific legislation will surely help and accelerate the change to safer products. We have an immense challenge ahead, but the solutions are there or can be developed in no time. DSM is committed to take a leading position, but we can't do this alone. We need to work with brand owners, retailers, customers, suppliers, competitors, scientists, regulatory bodies, and NGOs. So let's work together and make it happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.